Good morning. Thank you, Ginger. Olevi ingai fa foi pele tua o te fatulom fatalo fatu ye wa mfayon tato fatasi fa Simon fa avano ina o so taimi on nei taimi la fayatu set some fainga o le nei o na vai vai. Good morning. My name is Grace Tulafono-Asi. Thank you, Ginger, for the introduction. And thank you, Randall, for going first. I know that's not easy. Good job. And your hair looks fine. Before I begin, I just want to say prayers for all of those who have been personally impacted by COVID-19 and the riots, and all of our family members who are struggling to try and get home and get off island. Feel your pain. We're here. Prayers for everybody. But this morning, my topic is cybersecurity and DOT. DOT is Department of Treasury, which is where I work now, as the IT manager, focusing on attacks, vulnerabilities, and prevention, real threats and attacks, and how we can protect ourselves. Next slide, please. Just an overview of what I'll be going over. When I was trying to put this together, there is just so much information, and I'm glad, Mike, you went through some of the statistics and information from FEMA, and so there's so much information that I was trying to clarify my focus. And finally, I committed to just sharing my knowledge and my experience and what I've seen happen here locally for us, because we do have a unique situation most of the time, and our challenges are somewhat different from those of say, off island in the mainland US. So I'll just give a brief introduction of my background and how it ties to cybersecurity. Then we'll go into some definitions. Sometimes cybersecurity terms are used differently, so I just wanted to clarify how I use them and how it's going to be used in this presentation. And then a couple of cases. I think it helps to go through some real actual things that we've gone through in cybersecurity. So there were two big cases here at Department of Treasury of supposed hacks. And just I'll clarify those terms again as I go through those two cases. The first is the transfer of money to the Vietnam account, and the second is the wire transfer to the wrong account in reference to DHSS, which is the Department of Human and Social Services. And then some local vulnerabilities. I just picked two of my favorites, or two of the biggest ones that I've seen, and some preventative measures. And then malware and ransomware are really spiking and are becoming more and more popular. So I thought it was important to at least go through some of what I've seen and my experience with it. Basically, it's to try to share and make real what we tend not to take as reality, and that is security is important, and cybersecurity is very important. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, from 2004 to 2016, I was the CIO for ASCC, and on that diagram you see on the left side are kind of my run-ins or relation to cybersecurity while I was at ASCC as the CIO or any head. I'm sure many of the heads of IT are on this call, and you know that we're responsible for everything, right? Anything, all things IT, all things technology, including security. So if anything breaks, if anything's compromised, you're responsible for it because you're the head of IT, of course. You get blamed for that stuff, right? And then my second hat was the ICT chair for the academic program, which taught about technology. So in the intro to ICT courses, I helped to teach about best practices in being online, safeguarding your passwords, things like that. Those are very little things, but they can help secure you really well. So practicing good privacy techniques online, not sharing too much information, not providing too much information, and understanding that once it's online, it's forever. It's no longer in your control. And then I was the chair of the Cybersecurity Working Group. And as the chair, I sent out the newsletter. So the MS ISAC that Randall talked about, the multi-state ISAC, they would send out newsletters, just bulletins and what to watch out for. And they were really nice newsletters. So we would get those and put the local Homeland Security logo on it and distribute it to the working group members. And then they would then distribute it to their offices. And I believe a lot of the same people that are in this group were in that group as well. And so that was a nice way to get the information out. Yeah, and then I was fortunate enough to attend one of the MS ISAC conferences where I was able to see how real the threats are and exactly some real world examples of people who've been attacked. Then from 2016 to the present, again, as IT manager, you're responsible for all the security stuff in IT. And then I was introduced to IT audits for the first time. And this is nothing foreign to people like Connie from ASPA and Ray from LBJ, because Moss Adams did their audit. They did our audits as well. So the requirements for the audit was where a lot of the techniques and all of the requirements for security, I was exposed to those. So that was when I, really started trying to get serious with vulnerability testing and things like that. And thanks for reminding me, Randall, I need to call you about that still. And then the other audit that we go through is the IRS audit because of our tax system, because our tax office handles a lot of the federal stuff. We have to get audited by IRS, and this is the safeguards. And they use the NIST testing, which is what Randall was talking about too. They use the NIST requirements for everything, which is the most stringent and difficult, in my view, requirements that you have to meet to seal your systems. And through that, because of that, I became the official Chief Information Security Officer for the Department of Treasury. Sorry, so that's me in a nutshell and my experience with cybersecurity. Next slide, please. So definition time. A lot of the words, the reason I wanted to do this, I know I'm not a teacher anymore, but and one to Sunny and the gang and all the teachers, I love you. I respect so much what you do. It's not easy, but I wanted to do this because oftentimes you use the word, but you don't really use it correctly. And then, things spread, misinformation spreads, and people think it's a bigger deal than it actually was. And that's what I wanted to do with this presentation, is to make it so that you see how it happened and it can actually visualize how it happened so that you can defend against it, or you know what to do to defend against it, right? So the definition for cybersecurity and the source for all of these is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is NIST. Prevention or damage to protection of and restoration of computers, electronic communication systems. That's a big definition, but basically it's to protect your devices, protect your technology from being compromised out in the web. Okay, hack. Hack is the use of a computer to gain unauthorized access to data in a system. And a hacker is the user that hacks. So in order to hack anything, you have to be able to log into that person's account. So credentials are really important to in the definition of hack or hacking. You have to protect your login information. That is your username and your password. So if you have those things to anything, do not share, do not share, do not share, and you'll be okay. Okay, social engineering is a general term for attackers trying to trick people into revealing sensitive information or performing certain actions such as downloading, executing files. So social engineering is an important word for this presentation because that is what happened actually. In actuality, social engineering is what happens, not necessarily hacking most of the time. Most of the time it's social engineering. So that's the definition for it. Next slide, please. And then phishing is a digital form of social engineering that uses authentic but fake emails to request information from users or direct them to a fake website. So those are the emails that, some of those are examples of phishing, what Mike had said, where you get these emails, they're asking you for information, they're telling you to click on this link, it's an urgent, it's an emergency, your account is about to get disabled, please reset your password, and that's how they get you. And I'll give you an example of what one looks like also. And then malware and ransomware are becoming more and more vicious and cost more and more money to from people. So those are your definitions for malware: software designed and operated by an adversary to violate your computer, and those are examples: spyware, virus programs, rootkits. And malware is usually just a bad form of a virus. It's just more difficult to remove malware than it is to remove a typical virus. Ransomware is, again, new and kind of becoming more popular. More and more companies are getting hit with ransomware, and that is the type of malware that attempts to deny access to users and hold your data as for ransom until you pay an amount, and then they'll give it back to you. Next slide, please. All right, so the first case I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to correct this, our chief accountant corrected me on this, was actually in 2012, not in 2011. And the amount that was transferred was $1.2 million. So I wasn't here at Department of Treasury, but I got this information from our chief accountant. And I thought it was an important example because this made it real for us, right? It was a big deal. It was in the news, and that's a huge amount of money, $1.2 million. Okay, so what happened? Okay, there was a lot of rumors that computers got hacked, blah, 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 like those different stories, right? But what really happened was a phone call was made to the Department of Treasury, to a person that had access to log into our bank account. And social engineering happened. We need to verify your account. It's an emergency. You know, we need your information now. Without thinking, it was shared. And those credentials were then used to log into the bank and start transferring funds. So the act of logging in and gaining that access is hacking. And the act of getting that information through the telephone is social engineering. So that's why I say it's important to know the difference, because social engineering is something you can protect against. And how do you do this? So how could this have been prevented? Again, never ever share your login credentials over the phone or email or otherwise, you know, unless an IT person. You know what we do? We don't know your password, okay? If you call and you forgot your password, all we can do is reset it. So there's no need for us to ask you what your password is. So if you ever get an email or if you get a phone call saying, you know, I'm here to help you, it's very urgent, you're about to lose like $10 million, give me your information now, it's false. So never ever share your username and your password. Legitimate companies, IT support will never ask you for those things. And make sure that there is dual verification for access to the bank. So that's another way you can secure against this. So even if somebody does get the username and password, you know, there's that second layer where they say, oh, well, let me email you a code and then you send it back to me and then I know it's you. So that's the second layer of authentication and verification. If it's possible for you to do, make sure that wherever you have to log in has that second layer of security, and that'll help keep you secure. Also, know who has access to all of your accounts. If you're a company, if you're a business, I realize I'm not just talking to government employees here. So Treasury handles the money for government, but there's semi-autonomous and other people who work for a private sector. Check with your bank, ask them if there are things that you can do, and make a list of everybody who has login credentials to access your account and what type of access that person has. That's a good way for you to safeguard and keep track of those things and not let it get away from you. The sources down there, these helpful tips are from the Government and Financial Officers Association virtual conference that we attended. And these are very serious, very real attacks and threats. Okay, next slide. And the second case, so also in 2017, there was $200,000 that was transferred to the wrong accounts. So what happened there as well was social engineering. Department of Human and Social Services was emailed a request or to change wire transfer information. So we have accounts set up for vendors, right, to pay them. So DHSS then took that information, submitted it to Treasury, to the Department of Treasury, and our chief accountant confirmed it was via email, and it was processed. So when the payment was made, it went to a fraudulent account. It went to an account of a bad actor. So a lot of she told me that Treasury was kind of blamed for not verifying, but so the result of that was processes were changed to then require, instead of an email or anything like that, to change or update an account, an official memo or official letter has to come signed by the director, verifying that they already checked with the company and things like that to make sure that the account numbers were correct. And some tips on how could this have been prevented. Again, from GFOA, some people will go through these same things. And the best way to do that is implement strict verification rules when you are creating or verifying payment information, especially wire transfers. So an increase in ransomware, an increase in those types of things, the same thing we're seeing in increases in attacks coming because of electronic payments. Those are, you know, easier to try to get because it's so fast. Requiring that callback. So if somebody submits a request to you to change, you can say, that's all good and well, I'll take your information, let me call you back to verify. So almost every company has a website or a public place where they hold their public phone number. So that's what you can use to call back and see if that request really came from them. And that'll help protect you. And then, you know, revise your account security features at least once a year. Again, know who has access and authority to create or make changes to these payment information. And again, legitimate companies and IT support, etc., will cooperate with verification requests and not get all defensive, right? That's another like hint when a person's like, oh, well, why do you need that? Oh, well, why are you asking me that? When they jump defensive, then you're like, okay, I'll call you back and call your IT person right away. Next slide, please. All right. So those are the two cases, two big cases that I wanted to go through and explain and define, and then some ways that you can prevent against it. Now, other vulnerabilities that I see a lot of are those phishing emails. So a lot of people can't help but click on those things most of the time, and this is like the most common here that I've seen are those issues. When you click on things, not only are you sharing your information, but also that's a way for people to let viruses onto your system. So we've been attacked, like I remember for at least 5, you know, if your computer's running slow or things like that, you possibly have a virus that got downloaded from a phishing email. So these are some ways to spot a fake. Okay, so it's just so they're not really, you know, complicated things to look at. So if you receive a phishing email or a fake email, you first look at the from email. So this is an example of a phishing email scam using the name of Bank of America. So the first thing to notice is, you notice the email that after the @ symbol, it says comcast.net. If it's generic like that, or if it says @gmail.com or @hotmail.com or anybody could create an address like that. And Bank of America would not use it. It would be bankofamerica.com, or, it wouldn't say that email address. The other thing to look at is the to email. Bank of America, if they were going to email you, they would have your name on that to line, and they would have, your email address. Putting undisclosed recipients really doesn't show you all the emails. This is a mass emailing that this person is doing using blind copy. Okay, look at the salutation. Dear member, instead of using your name, they're using a generic salutation like member or dear or something like that. So that is another thing that scammers use. And then finally, look at the links. So please sign into your account at. That link might say bankofamerica.com, but if you right click or you hover over it, you see the arrow going, it says bits.do. That is another way that you can spot a scam, is if what is written out does not match where it's going. So you can always right click on there, copy that address and go Google it. Go Google it and see who it belongs to, yeah? Or Google the name of what is in the letter and write scam, and more than likely you'll find more information on it. And that link will take you to more tips to identify attacks if you want to go there. Okay, next slide, please. Another common thing that I see here is sharing passwords. Our people don't really think sharing passwords is a bad thing, but it could be. I'm not saying it's a bad thing right away, but it could lead to bad things, because you're giving somebody else access to what only you're supposed to have access to. For example, a few of the directors I know, they give their assistants their login to their email accounts. So that's okay, but that assistant could possibly email something from you to someone that you wouldn't like, or that person could possibly see something that you don't want them to see. So that access is given to you because you are a director, because you have that authority to make changes or to do something. So giving that password to someone who doesn't necessarily know how to use it could be a very, very bad thing. So a solution to that, so what we do here at Department of Treasury is we have an acceptable usage policy, and we state that outright in our policy. Whenever you apply for access, do not share your password or allow others to use your login credentials. It's right there in the policy, and that is an excerpt right there at the top from our actual AUP. And then also tie, disciplinary action to it. So if you do this, you'll be taken to jail. No, you'll be taken off the network. You'll be reprimanded. You'll be, so that policy compliance portion that's the disciplinary action portion of not following these rules on our acceptable usage policy. And that's the source, is our AUP. All right, next slide, please. All right. So like I said, I just chose two of those things because I see those are the most common. And then now just a visual aid, or just something to look at, so that it makes malware and ransomware a little more, visual, so they can see what it would actually look like. So this is an example of an actual ransomware message. So imagine you're going in to work and you log in and this thing pops up. Oops, your file has been encrypted. You no longer have access to anything. So that's what ransomware does. It basically is, it has that information. Give me three. That one's a bit on the cheaper side. In GFOA, we had other people who shared, like the CFO of LA and those big cities and things like that, who like Kansas City, who've been hit by those things, and it was in the millions, you know, the ransom for some of these things. So it costs money. It costs a lot of money, and it hurts to pay that, right? So it's always good to try to minimize and prevent these things from happening at all to begin with. Next slide, please. And this is was also shared by GFOA, was the anatomy of a ransomware attack. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so it'll start with the phishing email, for example, delivered to any employee on your network. And then they deploy a malware because you decided to click on that $1 million is yours link. And then it gets onto your system. And then it starts going, making and working its way in. And the more these malware programs find, the deeper they can dig. So on the right side there, you see months. So January was the clicking on the phishing email, and then you get all the way down to where in May, that last thing with the target on it is when you actually get that malware pop-up come up. So it could take months, and that is to Mike's point, to the people who are infected but don't know about it. That's them. So it makes its way through your network. And sometimes what they do is they will study your network and study and just look, you know, just try to look if it's even worth taking. Like, what kind of data is it? Like, I'd rather take something that's like, you know, important social security numbers, bank account information, that kind of thing, not just, you know, music videos and, and things like that. So sometimes until they find something, they'll just stay on your network for a while. And that's why the time gap. It's just looking for what you think the person will pay for, right? So the attack stages are there on the left. You can view that in more detail on your own. But that's basically, you know, how it would work. Innocent phishing email, click on it, and it could lead to disaster. So be careful, you know, with clicking on those things. Next slide, please. And then how the best way to protect against malware and ransomware is, I'm sorry, on the previous slides, you see educate, educate, educate on the slide. So that is your first defense, I believe, is the more you educate people and the more you get the word out on ways to stay protected, the better. The more you define these things accurately and show them what they mean and what they look like and what to do and what to stay away from, the better you off, the better off you are. But the second best way, I believe, is through antivirus software or malware software, and make sure that it's updated. Antivirus can only do so much. If it's like 5 years old, it won't do much for you. So that it scans and finds these known malware and viruses and remove them from your system. And the second is to update your system software, your operating updates and patches. These are your software's versions to patch up vulnerabilities and ways that hackers or bad actors can get into your system. So make sure you find those updates and you install them and keep current on your software. And that's a really good way to stay secure. And then, and this was consistent throughout all the presentations and webinars and everything that I've seen. The first thing you do when you are attacked or you see that you're being attacked and you don't know what to do and you start to panic, before you start to panic, disconnect, okay? So that is like the first thing and the best thing to do, because there's little they can do once they're disconnected. Once you're disconnected from, and I put the picture there because I don't mean like, you know, go pull the electrical plug and mess up your servers even more. I mean, go look for that cable that connects you to the internet, the main cable that connects you to the internet, because these actors are not in your office or in your server room. They're outside, right? And their connection to your systems is through that little wire right there. So take it off, or if you're wirelessly connected, disconnect your wireless so that you have some time to figure it out before they have more time to hurt you, okay? So, and those, that pictures on the right, those are just examples of some antivirus software. And the bottom is just saying patch and update everything, not just one thing. So your servers, your computers, your devices, anything you have on your network, update and patch all of it, okay? Next slide, please. And that is all that I thought to share about what I know and things that I've learned. And this slide is just to all the overlooked and unappreciated, because this is a very thankless job. It is a very, we only think of you when, you know, things go wrong, and which rightly so, that's what we're here for. But I wanted to say that he sees you, and I'm talking about our Father in heaven, and I do very much appreciate all of the workers and people who keep us safe and keep us going. Next slide. Thank you.